This is a project which is kind of an exercise in perseverance. Just keep in mind that it was designed in 2015, and I'll take you through a little bit of the history of it and the success of the precinct. It's 54 Wellington Street in Collingwood on Wurundjeri country. And just a brief overview of the project. It's in the order of about 24,000 square metres GFA. It's a 12-storey commercial building in disguise. It's actually a 9-storey building sitting above a Telstra exchange. It's two buildings, a companion building and a larger 1,500 square metre plate. There's 136 cars in a car stacker, 160 bicycle parks. It's core and shell well platinum and 6-star green star. To us, it's a really unique project because of the two building types on the site. You see the small companion building, which is 175 square metres, which is an urban scaling device, and also the tower, which is 1,500 square metres. The history of the project, as you may know, it's an exercise in perseverance. We went through 3 builders who collapsed financially through the project. We also went through the pandemic at the end, a major tenant exiting the project, and then a new investor coming in at the end. It's in a precinct which is of great interest to us. Our office is around the corner. It sits inside a commercial zone which has been put aside by the City of Yarra to be just commercial only. And to us that's very interesting. These areas exhibit their own industrial character, their own character, which is rapidly disappearing on the periphery of our cities. And to us it reminds us of Spitalfields or Dumbo in America. And here, 8 years later, after we started the project, is the project with the companion building, which you'll see later from JCB, really defining and reinforcing the unique character of this precinct. These tough buildings with no awnings, no ornament, bringing their frontages all the way to the street. The history of the site, it was Collingwood's first automated Telstra exchange, and a deal done with Grocon as the site was imagined that Telstra infrastructure would expand over time. It contracted rapidly, and so the building, as you see it, sits cantilevering over that building. With the kind of rapid gentrification and renewal of Collingwood, our observation was that larger and larger sites, smaller sites were being aggregated into larger and larger sites. We were losing the fine grain of the neighbourhood, which we cherished so much. Buildings that were overscaled and dominate the streetscape. So we inserted a new laneway into our site and pushed the tower back from the street 20 metres. It created a building which is a scaling device that sits in this Victorian warehouse streetscape. We call that the companion building. And here you see it's in the streetscape with its pairing with the Telstra building adjacent. It's probably one of the most complex sites we've ever worked on, an active Telstra exchange which had to operate throughout the entire construction period. Telstra exchanges are quite unique. They're full of new technology and old technology. It had both the original exchange from the 1930s, fully operational, and then fibre optic cables that run underneath and into the street. The wide areas you see on the site were the only areas where we could build. Everything else was volumetric or physical constraints. The ground plane works very, very hard. Our foyer is this sliver of this veneer of commercial space that sits against the street and opens up to Northumberland. The address to the primary commercial building is via a laneway. And so you walk down Little Derby Street, as we call it, which is an extension of Derby Street down Collingwood slope, to discover an unconventional address to this building. This is called the laneway. The laneway then ties you through Northumberland into Byron Street and the network behind. Due to the limitations of where we could build on the site, it could have presented a very tough facade to the streetscape, but we opened that up with this very, very thin foyer. It's pressed up against Northumberland Street. You can see the activity of people coming and going throughout the day. The building sits on 5 metre high trusses that span over the Telstra exchange, and as I mentioned before, the commercial towers, 9 typical plates that sit above that building. One of the benefits of the project was that we couldn't of the complexity was that we couldn't excavate. So spaces like trip facilities were brought up into the second and third story of the tower. So those receive natural daylight and outlook into the rooftops of the surrounding buildings. There's an automated car stacker. The majority of people come to this project via the bike parks that sit outside on Wellington Parade. The building exhibits a series of different responses. It's got a weathering steel screen and embedded material palette that respond to the scale of the city and the scale of the street, and then a glassy tower that sits above responding to the skyline. Here you see the companion building. All the materials within the project are embedded, have embedded colour. There's no there's limited application of applied finishes to the building. The facade system is quite interesting. We turned the spandrel panels to be vertically so that we would frame views out of the building into the rooftops and the spires and the other commercial buildings, the other historic buildings that are really defining of this precinct. And the companion building is a nod to history where it sits in a parallel with the Vine Hotel opposite the street, so there's dialogue between those two buildings and their respective scale. But we also took the sawtooth roofscape, which is rapidly disappearing from Collingwood, and turned it on its side and created a facade on the southern edge of that building, which is also operable. The interior of the commercial building is completely lean and light. There are no ceilings, it's all exposed. The companion building is a hybrid CLT structure. So the first that we did, innovation in there includes full timber mullions, operable windows, and a hybrid CLT structure. Again, the materials, there are very few applied finishes. All the colour and the colour of the materials is embedded in the weathering steel screens and the precast concrete. The building wasn't leased until prior to the pandemic. Impact Investment Group are a very interesting organisation. They're highly ethical, and they managed to attract tenants to this building and create an ecosystem based around its environmental credentials, and then also the community that they've established. It has Bank of Australia, an ethical bank, and also the Young Justice Commission and a number of other tenants within it that utilise the roof terrace. The commons as well are a co-working space that sit in the lower portion of the tower. And we're very, very proud of the way that this building has reset what Collingwood could be and delivered the potential of what kind of feels like a new Melbourne industrial extension of the city. It sits very well with provided the setting for the buildings that JCB behind.
Thank you.